Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for The Amazing Spider-Man issue 33. Dang, very nice cover there, and this pretty much is what happens here. So, last time, Kraven fucked around, and he is about to find out. Pretty much the simplest way of putting it, but, I do like this one. Because it didn't go the complete route of he is completely just Norman in Peter's body kind of thing. This is what would happen if you had the nuttiness that would go on with the Green Goblin, but with Peter. Like, it's not as simple as just being like, he's insane like the Green Goblin. We see the darker kind of aspects of Peter's personality take the forefront. And that's the kind of scary part. So I like that they're going that route instead of just, oh, we're going to Control-C the Green Goblin and we're going to paste it onto Peter and that's what we're going to go for. I'm glad that they didn't go with that route. Especially, we're seeing what's going on in the beginning here. Talking about, like, if you'd asked me yesterday, I don't, why I keep it, I don't, like, if you'd asked me yesterday, I'd have told you I don't know why I keep it, but I do, deep down. I don't have to pretend anymore. My thoughts are racing, trying to outrun a blaze. Kraven did something to me. He's always doing something to me. And he goes unpunished because I'm the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So you see a spider crawling, and he squishes it. It's important to showcase that he is going to use violence and kind of worse, proactive means against things that he deems beneath him. A very big MO of the Green Goblin and of Norman. As he says, no more of that. The blaze in my head grows hotter. My thoughts slow, accepting their fate. I understand Kraven only lit the fire, a child playing with matches. These thoughts were always there in the dry brush of my mind. I'd feel them in the dark of night. They'd come with the memories of the grave. He put me in a grave. The blaze takes me. My thoughts burn. I don't have to pretend. I think about what I'd do to him. What I'd like to do if I wasn't so friendly. It's interesting to see these inner thoughts as he's now kind of different. We then shift to Norman doing the same thing with his inner thoughts. This is the first kind of time that we see this at this point. Trying to find Peter. Wondering and worrying about him. You've seen his face, what he looked like. He's gone out to fight crime. What are you doing, Peter? It's like, it's good to see Norman worrying about him like that. And then we shift to Kraven. And then we see him kind of thinking about what's going on, of the madness taking him twice. Talking about how he ran. I knew it would come for me, that it would try to take me, but seeing its face, you ran. No, I am Kraven the Hunter. We do not run. I will face the sins of my father. I am my father. I will face the madness that took him, by his own hand. I will kill it. I will hunt it. But the weapons, why do they seem so heavy? You know. Why can't I choose? You know. I don't want to be weighed down because you no longer hunt. I don't want to be slowed down. My body knows. I am prey. It's like, damn, nutty. And I love the art. It really just kind of sells it. And is really good job on Kraven. I've waited for this moment as we then see Peter in his black outfit, and he then injects Kraven with something. It's like, oh shit. I really like how they do Peter in the black outfit in this. And then he's like, ah shit, I'm injected with something. Run. You'd better get going. Run. As he then screams it and smashes the violent needle in his hand. And I like how the font is for run, and how you see just how kind of unhinged Peter is right now with this. It's like, god damn. He's unhinged, but he's still calculating. It's not just, I'm doing shit willy-nilly. And then we see Kraven pretty much running Pete, keeping tabs on him. Talking about how he's hunted. How he's trying to kind of get away. How he's now feeling the same fear that the others have. He's like, I can be cornered but not surprised. I see you, Spider. I see you. As he then pops up and Kraven's trying to take him out with a knife. But he then pretty much breaks his arm. if not breaks, but there's a crunch, at least with what the sound effect says. So I'm thinking there's some damage there. And then we see Pete just like crouched over him. I can't believe I was ever scared of you. I can't believe I let you get away with what you did for all these years, walking around like you didn't bury me alive. I'm not my father. Close enough. It's like, good God. As we then see Craven trying to run away as Pete's laughing maniacally like the goblin. It's nuts. I love the art style of seeing him there with the black suit. It's just, I wish it wasn't him going nutty doo dah. And then Craven being like he's playing with me, stalking from above. And then pretty much him going down and further into the sewers. Talking about how the grave's kind of calling him, daring him to follow him, trying to get distance, deeper, deeper. Stop, you've gone far enough for the serum to work. My blood is hardened by fire. I don't feel a thing. It's not supposed to work on you. And then it's like, what the fuck? What do you mean? And then we see other things kind of pop up, hissing at him, as we see Pete looking through the grate, and something smells tasty. I just needed you to work up a sweat so the pheromones could work their way through your body and attract your friends. The vermin, the ones that Craven had hurt, it's like, damn, this is kind of really calculated on Peter's part of doing this kind of stuff. This is the darkness that Pete has to actively fight against. It's not just power and responsibility, it's understanding what you can do. I like how it kind of lines up with what we have been seeing in Doctor Strange, with what General Strange can be if he goes on, since General Strange is the prime example of what can happen if Dr. Stephen Strange goes nutty. And then we see Craven pretty much getting like set upon by the vermin. And Pete's just watching. Craven's like, I won't fall. Come on then, as he even like bites into one of them. It's like, god damn. So, yeah, there's some nutty shit going on in here. Granted, even though it's kind of like a smaller kind of panel, be careful, people. If you're not into it, it's okay. Know what I mean? He's like, I am my father's son. I am Craven. You will be buried like him. No, bite him. Claw him. As they're trying to kill him. And we still see Pete looking on. But then he's like, nah. And then he just comes down and telling him to stop it. That's enough. And then he just like starts going at him, tossing them. Pretty much doing a punch that like destroys one of the vermin's mouth. And just the art really sells the action of him like cracking and taking them out. And then they run away. And then we just see Pete dragging him away in the darkness. And then he's like, what the fuck's going on? I like seeing the transition. And he's like, here's this, in case you want to skip to the end. He's like, no, as we see that Pete has buried him and continues to do it. Pretty damn fine day, as he then buries him alive. And that is where it ends. It's like, damn. So, I enjoyed this issue. It's really kind of weird. I don't like seeing Pete screwed over and turned into this kind of more monstrous kind of thing. But this was not the kind of worst case scenario of, oh, it's Green Goblin and the Spite, and it's... well, funnily enough, it's not like they just copied and pasted the same concept of Otto taking over Pete's body, which, incidentally enough, it's funny that we got the Superior Spider-Man. Now, granted, I did not read Superior Spider-Man, and I don't know how well that was done and executed, but it's interesting to be like, hey, what would happen if Doc Ock was in Peter's body and attempting to be Spider-Man? This is, what if you took away the kind of limiting aspects that Pete has to make him a hero, and what would he do? He toyed with Craven. He became the better hunter and buried him alive to make up for that, and to be like, okay, you made a very fucking big tactical error stabbing me with that thing. And I'm glad that this wasn't the worst case scenario, because this run has been better than that. Even though there's been some weirdness and craziness and everything kind of going on, I'm glad it didn't do that. And I could definitely understand why people would not like this. This is a very hard kind of concept to take, of like Pete doing these kinds of things. I'm glad that it didn't go to the nth degree where he like immediately murdered Craven or whatnot, and it's just like covered in blood and going like, I've killed him, ha 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 ha, goblin, goblin. Oh. I'm glad we haven't gotten there. It's still Dark Peter, but as we would imagine, like what the writing team and the artist imagine as a Dark Peter doing this kind of thing. So I'm intrigued to see where this goes, but I do not fault anyone for being like, this isn't right. I don't like this. And to be fair, I do not like Peter doing these kinds of things either. Okay? It's what is this story going to do, and what are the challenges going to be? This is now gone to the effect that Norman has to help Peter. And that is a great challenge of Norman still having to deal with his sins, but in a different kind of way than if just giving them back to him. He's got to deal with it in a worst case scenario of Peter has all of this kind of power and everything. What if the goblin had like Spider-Man's powers and everything? And well, it's not exactly that either. It's what if Pete unlimited himself? How can Norman deal with that and handle that and help him? How can he do that? So we're seeing Peter doing these kinds of things, and it's an interesting challenge to see how Norman is going to have to help him and do this, and what his supporting cast is going to have to do as well. It'll be interesting to see what the consequences are, how Peter gets back, what he tries to do to atone, depending upon how far this kind of goes. So there's a lot of different kind of things to unpack. I was going into this one expecting the worst of like, oh God, this could go really, really bad. However, it didn't happen that way, and I'm like, okay, you still got my attention. Let's kind of see how this kind of works out and where we kind of go from here. Now, we don't have, I mean, granted, this thing does come out twice a month, so we've got a little bit of time before we get to the gang war bit, so they're going to have to wrap this up a little bit faster. I think this would have been a great kind of arc on its own to really explore this kind of thing. I think this deserves more time and energy and exploration for this kind of story. But I do understand them doing this of a kind of in-between story to then get us to the gang war. But we'll have to see how this works out. Depending upon how the writing team and the art team goes and how the delivery goes and execution, this could still work out pretty much in his favor, even if it's a kind of shorter arc. So those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.